Okay. So I'm just testing the streaming on YouTube right now, and we should be starting.
Oh yeah, that's cool. The live on YouTube little banner showed up there.
Awesome. Can you guys hear the echo?
Nope.
Okay.
So you know that race I was telling you guys about, the Quarantine Backyard Ultra? They were initially using Zoom and streaming it live on YouTube, and then it got too long that it like broke YouTube's policies, so YouTube removed it. So they had to switch to Facebook like 24 hours into the race. Yeah, ended up going for 63 hours.
I'm going to add this link to LinkedIn, the YouTube link.
Nice.
Oh, you got it already? Okay.
I'm going to. Or do you want to do it, Seher?
No, you do it, John. You do it. It's fine. Team, just testing. You guys can see my slides?
Yep.
Okay. Awesome.
We'll do the same thing as last time, guys. We'll just say next. We
Yep.
want to go to the next point.
Yep. So we should be starting in 9 minutes. For all participants dialing in, please make sure to use the chat panel on the Zoom. And us as panelists here, me, Max, and John will be always monitoring the chat panel to make sure we answer all your questions during our live workshop today. Awesome. So how's BC, Jean? How are things going there?
BC, actually, I saw some encouraging stats about BC. They have managed to flatten the curve quite a bit.
That's great positive news.
Yes, and they are kind of contemplating whether they should be relaxing some of the rules. But the concern is that, will things bounce back? Because everyone is sitting inside now, it's okay, but if it is hanging around, right? So when people start coming back to their normal activities, what happens? Because I heard from India, one of my relatives told me that in Korea and some other place, people who were cleared of COVID had the infection. After 40 to 50 days, they're showing signs of the infection again.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard that it can get you twice.
Yeah. So that's kind of because I was in microbiology, right? Usually your immunity is pretty good. It's called memory. Like once it faces an antigen, like it can bounce back pretty quickly and your body should be better. like at protecting yourself against the same pathogen. So this is kind of strange, or it's something is happening where people's immunity are weakened so much that, or maybe it's a very short time for it to gain that memory, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Maybe
it's
getting back gradually, maybe hopefully that should be the plan.
definitely a challenge for everybody. And in India, they have extended the lockout. They have stretched it to April 30th now.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, it's not good. A country of 1.3 billion people, right?
Mhm.
It's difficult for them to do social distancing because it's so crowded. Right?
Yeah.
That's a good. Oops.
So, thank you all for joining us. I'm going to put in a link which will lead you to our webinar page on our website, our Knowledge Center. So if you want to check out additional topics that we have had webinars on.
Oh, John, you
Oh,
said that
hang
to
on, I
all
need to
panelists.
change
Yeah.
just to everyone, right? Okay.
Yeah. All panelists and perfect.
Okay.
Everyone in the meeting.
There you go.
Perfect. Yes, that's perfect. Awesome. So 5 minutes team, and we will be starting. But again, feel free, anybody, we can see more people dialing in. So if you have more questions, just plug them in so that we can make sure to cover them while presenting as well.
Is it too late to back out?
Absolutely.
Okay.
There is no back out.
All right.
And that's where you will see the blogs for the attendees who have signed in now. We've been doing a lot of useful blogs that is very pertinent to this current situation. So please feel free to check it out.
Sorry, guys, I'm trying to do things. I'm clicking on things that I should not click on. So.
Seher is, Seher is like disrupting my flow here.
So here, last time I found, you know how if you just hover your cursor over the bottom left corner and like the forward and backward arrow appear, I found for last webinar when I was controlling it, that was yeah exactly
the easiest
there.
one.
Easiest way, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, I will just do that. Awesome. Are you guys doing any push-ups since we are in the theme of marathon and sprint and workout? Oh, here you go.
That's a Chicago Bears hat, right?
Yep.
Oh, nice. This headband, I don't know if you can tell, it's actually from I think it's on the side. It's a Red Bull race that I did where I had to.
Oh, nice.
It was the shortest race I've ever done. It was only 400 meters, but it was up the Olympic ski jump in Whistler. So the incline got to, I think 61 degrees was the most steep it got. So you'd run, and then you'd have to go into a crawl at one point.
That's crazy.
Yeah. The Bears. That's a Saturday Night Live skit, isn't it?
What's that?
The Da Bears. I'm pretty sure that's like a famous Saturday Night Live skit where that originated from.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Da Bears. Yeah, Bears taught me a pretty good lesson. I decided that whatever city I go into, I'm not going to become a fan of that sports team, of that city's sports team. So I kind of insulated myself from the Edmonton Eskimos and from the Oilers and all. I was like, okay, I've done enough. I've gone through enough stress. No more become.
What about when you go back home to India? Is there like a cricket team that you support?
I hardly watch India cricket anymore.
Okay.
Yeah. You'll get there, Max.
I don't think so.
Well, you're not interested in sports anymore.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we're seeing a lot of people are kind of dialing in right now. So for all participants, please make sure you guys use the chat panel. Us three here as panelists today will make sure to cover all your questions while we're presenting. And we'll be starting in exactly, John, like how many? 2 minutes?
In 2 minutes. Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. I think the team were discussing sports, hence why the theme of the marathon theme and the workout.
Mm-hmm.
Is that water, Max, or that's juice?
Yes.
Calories
Yes, I
to
can
prep for your.
Exactly. Yeah, I put some Gatorade in here. You know,
Here you go.
Got to prep for the marathon. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I've been drinking a lot of water too. Might have
That's
to
healthy.
mute myself and have a break during the webinar.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we are almost there in a minute. You know, a lot of times I've got spotty internet, Seher and Max, only when I'm on Zoom. When I'm on other websites, doesn't happen as much, or I have hardly seen that problem.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are at 11:30 PST.
Perfect. Let's go, John.
Okay.
All right. So good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, depending on where you're signing in from. We would like to welcome you to Flawless Inbounds digital workshop, Survival of the Quickest. Now, before we get started, I want to do something that we usually wait till the end of the event to do, right? So we would like to thank you from the bottom of our heart. And we feel very honored here that you have decided to share your precious time with us, right? And why do we say that is, we understand that the last couple of weeks have been, not couple of weeks, even more than that, right? And in fact, the last month has been very stressful for all of us on 3 levels: family, business, and even our community, right? And we are in the same boat as you. We are experiencing the same things. So in spite of those challenges, being committed to improve your knowledge and to understand how you can best help your business, we commend that. And thank you again for joining us today. Now, we can all agree that irrespective of what sector our business is in, we are in uncharted territory right now, all of us, right? And Flawless Inbound, by design, is constantly challenged to change and optimize its playbook according to our clients' needs and according to the market challenges they are facing for the last 6 years. And this, in the current challenge, has become mandatory for all the businesses these days. And that's why we thought we should step up to the plate. And we feel obligated that we need to share with our fellow businesses the recommendations and the tactics that we've been sharing with our partners and with ourselves, because this will definitely help you. And this, we feel, is our way, our best way of giving back to the business community we interact with every day. So thank you all for coming. I hope you like a Keanu Reeves there. All right. And so now let's move on to the agenda before we get into the meat of the webinar. So first, what we want to focus on in this webinar is tell you why we feel the flywheel is a better model than the traditional funnel in facing this challenge. Followed by, once we discuss that, we'll give you a framework that we've been recommending to our partners, and we've been looking at ourselves here internally in Flawless Inbound, right? And then, based on that framework, we are going to tell you how to adopt your flywheel model, as well as we are going to give you what to prioritize as far as business development goes, and what solutions that you can adopt right away to keep the wheel moving for you. Followed by, we are going to introduce you to an economical way of keeping the engines warm for you, right? Without breaking the bank, so that you can rev your engine and get going pretty fast when the market bounce back. And finally, we'll be rounding off this webinar by giving you important points that you could take home. So we will kind of recap the webinar for you. And before we get started again, introducing your presenters, yours truly, John Robbins. I'm talking to you from Vancouver. I'm an inbound growth consultant at Vancouver. In Vancouver, leading the business operations for Flawless Inbound here. And that's Max. And Max is an inbound growth consultant, my colleague at Flawless Inbound. And since Max is kind of handling the marketing part here, and Seher, our CRO, what we have done is we play, at Flawless Inbound, we play by the books, right? So this is what we are doing. We are maintaining proper social distance between all of us. So me and Seher, 6 feet apart. But since Max has taken up a marketing role now for this webinar, and I'm in sales, we want to maintain the tradition. And I want to put as much distance between me and Max as possible.
I think we should put me off the screen, John. Yeah.
I think that was a mistake in the slides, John, I think.
Yeah,
But,
yeah. Boy. Off to a rocky start here.
No, I've gone one better. I moved to Vancouver instead of Edmonton.
Here you go.
Not just social distance, physical distance too, right? Cool. So those are the presenters today, and thank you for listening to us. And with that, we would like to also tell you that our hope is, Sarah, could we move on?
Sure.
Yeah, our hope is that through this webinar, we would hopefully give you few talking points and few more choices than what you're seeing on the screen here during your internal meetings, right? So that's the aim of this webinar. And with that, I hand the mic over to Seher to kickstart the meat of the webinar.
Perfect. Thank you, John. Thank you, Max. And thank you, everybody, for joining today. First of all, we know this is a very sensitive time for you. So giving us this 1 hour is critical, and we really appreciate it. Please understand, this is a live webinar, meaning we want your questions. We want your feedback. We want to make sure that everybody who's joining today is actually getting the best value during this 1 hour. One of the key things we're going to discuss today is what's on top of your mind right now. From a leadership perspective, are those the questions that you're getting from the leadership team? So maybe you are a sales leader, a marketing leader, or a business leader in an organization. This is what we have been seeing with clients so far. Maybe you're asked about what's the 3 priorities that I need to do in the next 30 days. We get it that you already you took care of your family, you take care of your business, maybe you transition all your business to online, you figured out how to use video and working from home. Hopefully your teams are safe, your family is safe. I'm sure the first 3 weeks was not easy on everyone. But now is the time to go back to the drawing board and focus on how can you keep the livelihood of your organization. That's why we're kind of, launching those kind of series of webinar monthly videos.
Yeah.
So
can I quickly add one more thing?
Please.
By the way, if you guys are wondering why these guys are in their sports outfit, as you see, the theme is that change management is a marathon. And as everyone knows, marathon, you got to be strategic. You got to pace yourself so that you'll conserve energy and you'll be well positioned for that final kick. And we all know this is a marathon for us. This is not a sprint. And we, by sharing our playbooks, we want to be able to help you strategize and prioritize and be well positioned as we write this out together.
Totally. And
right,
I want to share as well that we don't want to plan this to be a death by PowerPoint. So each now and then we'll be having a question that will be presented to you guys right now. So there's a cool question right now. What is your biggest business challenge right now? And feel free, we'll give you kind of a minute. Just kind of go through the question and what's your toughest business challenge? Maybe you can pick 2, maybe you can pick 3, maybe it's all of the above. So is it the face-to-face selling shutdown? Is it securing and winning new business? Or is it keeping and securing your existing pipeline and retainer? Is it reskilling your sales team? Is it trying to figure out a new budget for the organization? So I can see we have almost 12 participants here and people are voting, but yeah, take your time, just 1 minute, vote on what's the top 2 or 3 or maybe all of them. What are the real business challenges you guys are facing right now? Because we understand that the theme right now is keeping the life of the organization, especially during this uncertain time. For sure, this is critical. Okay.
What do you mean panelists can't vote?
Yes, panelists, you're not allowed to vote. Absolutely. So we're
I just
just
tried
updating
to
everybody.
change that option. Max, say her change the screen on me.
Oh, here you go.
Oh,
Okay, so I guess while the teams are kind of voting for one final time here, we can actually go to the next one. You guys are okay with that? So what I will do is I just want to present the concept of the flywheel. Okay, so what's the flywheel? So flywheel is actually kind of an engineering object, right? Which is kind of more of a disk. And really the idea is that it was designed a long time ago to make sure that you can have the best outcome. So how each and every time you want to have this flywheel rotate faster, and when each and every time to rotate faster, a result comes out of it, or an energy is generated out of it. So it's an ancient creation or engineering model that was created, and it's actually applied in a lot of things in the current time being as well. If you guys remember the book from Jim Collins, Good to Great, he actually wrote a previous book around flywheel and how it can be a business model applied to the organization as well. So this is just from a very high level, the concept of a flywheel. Okay, and John and Max, feel free to jump in if I forgot anything here.
The flywheel is actually not that ancient, Seher. Actually, it was invented by James Watt.
Oh, here you go.
Yeah, and it's very efficient in storing energy, and the energy depends upon, like, how much force you apply to the flywheel and how much friction it faces. So it's kind of directly proportional to the force and inversely proportional to the friction it faces. It's a concept in physics, but yeah, go ahead.
So then what you're saying is, if it's existing right now, how can an organization, either in business to business or business to consumer, how can we apply it to our businesses, and how it's different from the traditional marketing funnel, I guess?
Correct.
So this is kind of what we're seeing here. This is a traditional marketing funnel. So you have marketing, you have sales, and hopefully you have clients that are kind of coming through this model. And again, we understand that now is more challenging than before. And to be honest with you, all of us, none of us in our lifetime have seen a kind of a challenge like this before. So that's why maybe it's time for us to be more innovative at those kind of challenging time, and try to figure out how we can think about outside the box. And that's why we're kind of positioning this model of the flywheel, John mentioned. And if you think about it, the flywheel model is actually embodying the main concept that the customer needs to be in the center of anything an organization is doing. And you can see, as John said, in the flywheel model, usually there are three pillars. There is sales and marketing. Hopefully they're playing nice together. And then at the same time, there is a services component that the organization needs to be very careful with right now, especially during this interesting times. And of course, this is one of the key differentiators that you would see comparing a flywheel to a funnel. Now we're just going to go kind of a little bit deeper, as John said. John, I think you're on mute.
Seher, can I add one more point to the previous slide?
Please.
Now, for everyone, we have more than 13 attendees on the webinar now. I want you guys to go back and think about a scenario when you were in the market, when you were looking for a particular product or a solution for your business, right? And how did we go about that? Like, did we pick up the phone and directly call the vendors? Or did you go online, start searching for the right solution? Did you go and look for thought leadership to understand what would be the right fit for my current situation? Did you go back to your network and talk to people who are already using a product or a service? So what I'm going at is, we do a lot of research these days. I do that. All the panelists do that before we arrive at a decision to, okay, these are the 2 or 3 vendors that are that should be in my evaluation criteria, right? Because we want to kind of filter away all the noise. So when you evaluate a business in this manner, they're not going to be calling your sales team. They're not going to be like having a direct conversation with you. They are doing their own research, a lot of self-directed research, and the internet is the main tool for this, right? So and these days, especially, I'm pretty sure literally almost all of you are listening to us from your home offices right now. We don't have the liberty now or the privilege to go and meet people face to face or go to trade shows or whatever it is. So whatever decisions that are being taken, even the vendors in the checklist that a business has to talk to for a solution, all those decisions are being done online, right? In the traditional funnel, what happens is that we put in a lot of effort in the marketing and sales, and hopefully we'll get a customer, a client at the end of the funnel. But in the traditional funnel, what is missing is that the momentum of signing a new client is dissipated at the bottom. It's not swung back into your business development efforts again. A flywheel ensures that what Sarah is going to present now is that how do you swing that momentum of a new client back into your business development process, right? Or back into your sales and marketing efforts, thereby you use that, you leverage that to increase the LTV, the lifetime value, as well as to get net new names for your business. So that's the difference between, or the advantage of having a flywheel model over a traditional funnel model. We are not saying that the traditional funnel doesn't work, but you got to change our thinking, especially during these challenges. Start thinking in terms of a flywheel. All right, Shahar, go ahead.
That's
okay, I just
Max.
add one thing to that, actually, because John, you did a great job covering the marketing, the sales portion of the flywheel here. But the funnel versus the flywheel, the one thing that the funnel doesn't have is services, and that's integral to the flywheel. Think about it. So John mentioned, you evaluated them. That was their marketing, right? Then you bought from them. That was the sales aspect. But the service, then think about it. That company that you bought a product or service from, did they keep engaging you? Were they communicating with you? And did they reach their ultimate goal of bringing you back in to buy additional products or services, right? That's, again, how the flywheel works, and it keeps going back and forth. Or sorry, I should say not back and forth, around the customer.
Correct. And that's a good point, guys. So for all the participants here today, can you shout on the Q&A, how many of you guys in your current business have the opportunity to, if I may say, cross-sell and upsell for your existing pipeline? And I'll make sure maybe John and Max can you guys monitor the Q&A as well?
I can monitor it.
Perfect, to make sure if there's anybody asking questions, because I can see this right now.
Yeah.
So just shout out and see if you have any opportunities for cross-selling and upselling. Right?
Correct. And the trend that we see is that usually the customer service is treated as a cost center, right? It's not considered as part of the revenue department. But now in this challenge, as this webinar moves along, you'll realize that how important the services is. And the earlier you start considering as part of your revenue department, the better chances that your business has in positioning itself really well and leveraging your current clients itself.
Absolutely. And just I want to echo what John and Max are saying. Again, in the flywheel model, the mission of the leader, again, either if you're a sales leader, a marketing leader, a leader, or a leader of the organization, is a couple of things. The first thing is, of course, applying the right force in the right time. So maybe you want to increase lead generation. Maybe you want to increase the customer sat of the organization, especially now more than ever. And hopefully at some point in time, whatever business you have in the existing pipeline, you need to kind of be a little bit more creative into helping win the current business. So that's more of kind of applying a little bit of force, but in the right direction. So that's kind of the model of how it usually works.
And this force also, as you see this animation, this force will change from business to business, and that you have to decide internally. Should we add more force to customer service or sales or marketing? And how you do that, that's where the strategy comes in. You have to wear your thinking hat and decide, where can I add more force without breaking the process? And as you add force, you got to also consider, where can you remove friction? And Seher will be talking about where usually we find friction in a flywheel model.
Great. And then this is kind of what we have seen, like sources of friction, right? So think about the sources of friction sometimes can be in the integration between the three departments, marketing, sales, and services. But also sometimes it's between your organization and the outside world, which is your customers, your partners, your supply chain. So the first thing is, how can I, in continuing delighting my customers, to hopefully turn them into my best marketeers, my raving fan? How can I convert a client to be really kind of an influencer that always advise or advocate for my services? That can be one aspect of reducing friction. So maybe a takeaway to all of us right now on the call, if you guys have a paper and pen or a Word document, think about maybe one thing you can do right now to remove friction if somebody maybe is dealing with your services department or with your support team, or you are shipping a solution, either physical or maybe online. What can be a one thing that you can think of to kind of reduce friction from that side of things? That can be one angle that you can think of. The other angle is on the sales side, are your existing clients having easier access to your sales team? And what I mean by easier access is we all know now the sales team are working from home, right? So how are you enabling your sales team to do more with less? And that's another kind of friction that as a sales leader with your sales team, you need to start thinking about. And of course, the main foundation right now is the marketing. How is the marketing team adding value in the sales department and in the sales department? How are they telling the right story, capturing the right leads, and so on? Max?
Sahir, we got a couple of questions. I just want to know if you want to answer those now, or should we?
Let's deal with, yeah. Let's
sure.
review.
So there's a great question here. Actually, it says, "I'd like to know a scenario where the flywheel service model in this current situation would be applicable. Can you give an example?"
Absolutely, Sahir. We do have those models down the few more slides down in this webinar. But if you want to address that right now, you can do that.
Sure. So John and Max, why don't you, if you have ideas right now, just kind of answer them from a high level, but of course we're going to show you live case scenarios of actually each department doing that.
Yeah, honestly, I know exactly what slide you're talking about. And I think that answers it best. What I would say right now is it's continuously being developed, and because this is so fresh, it's hard to say what the best practice with regarding applying the flywheel is right now. But that being said, that I would say there is a slide, and I'll bring this question up again. When we're on it.
Max, one quick high level we can give is securing your current deals. It's critical this time, right? Getting net new names during these challenges is not easy. And your services, if they are aligned with your sales and marketing, they play a huge role in your revenue department to be able to secure those current deals.
Correct.
Right? They have the ears of your business to the ground. They have the pulse. They are checking the pulse of your current deals. Yeah. And they are the ones who need to raise the red flags when they realize that, okay, you might become a casualty of cost-cutting measures, right?
I like that, John. Can I add to that? So sure. Let's answer the question from a high level right now. And Max, thank you for monitoring the question. If there's more, just please make sure you put them on.
There's one more. Yeah.
So here's an example of your customer service department right now, right? So I think right now more than ever, they actually need to be the one initiating a communication with your clients to tell them, by the way, guys, we understand, Mr. Client, you're facing a big challenge. We are here to help you. So now your organization, your brand doesn't come across as you're trying to sell something new. It actually comes across as we're here, we're learning together how we maneuver this, and eventually it will pass away. So you will be one of the early brands in your business who are actually removing this friction. Your support team are not hiding, they're actually in front of the challenge and helping the client. That's from a customer service perspective. From a sales perspective, it can be as simple as, instead of the sales now following up on somebody who downloaded an ebook or attended a webinar, say, hey, let's do a discovery call because I want to sell you something. The sales rep maybe can simply point your prospects to a critical piece of content that will help your prospect, especially mapped to your industry, during that time, during COVID-19. So that's a way of reducing friction. On the marketing side right now, the marketing need to be more compassionate in their message to be able to do that. So those are very light, high-level examples, and I'm sure the team will give you guys more examples as we go. Max, do you have any other questions before we move forward?
Yeah, there's one more. So it's many clients/prospects do not have the knowledge and or experience to carry out virtual meetings. How do you tackle this issue? That's again another great question. For me, I would say evaluate video conferencing or virtual meeting software based on ease of use. We're a big fan of Zoom, and the reason for that is if you are utilizing Zoom like we are right now, potentially with people who haven't actually downloaded it on their desktop, you can run Zoom through your web browser, which is super convenient. There are other video conferencing solutions out there where that's not the case.
Absolutely. Can I add to that also, Max?
Yeah, of course.
I to add to what you're saying is, I usually like to meet the prospects in the channel that they want to communicate with, right? So we understand that everybody now is moving to video conferencing, as you guys can see. Your team's already moved to remote working from home, and maybe not all the organization, because we have been working with organizations where they only moved 80% of the organization to working from home, but 20% need to be still on the line of manufacturing or kind of in the back end in the office or something like that. The way how we would address that is understanding your prospects. Maybe if you're dealing with maybe a generation, like baby boomers and stuff like that, who maybe some of them are still challenged with that, and they want a phone call, give them a phone call. They want a text message, give them a text message. Don't force video on them, because at the end of the day, it's not about the trending platform. It's more about the right medium that the prospect will be comfortable with you on. Granted that everybody now should kind of, because of the consumerization of internet, that they know how to use video on Facebook and on Instagram and WhatsApp and all those kind of things. So you would expect that everybody will absorb that. But again, what we have seen is it depends on the gender, the grade, the baby boomers versus millennials versus X generation versus Z generation. Each one will have a different appetite to deal with situations like this. Make sense? Another question, Max?
There's one more, but it's actually, again, it's answered later on by the presentation. So I think we'll address it.
We're good to go.
It's regarding
awesome.
Budgeting versus existing.
Oh, we're getting there.
Leads.
We're going deeper there,
so,
for sure.
okay.
For sure. So Max, I think this is your time now. So
my time to shine. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So yeah, as John said, I'm going to be introducing some of the challenges that we've been hearing from marketers amidst COVID-19. Obviously, this is very fresh, and I think the challenges will evolve. But right now, one of the big ones is the cancellation of trade shows. So we're finding that the number a lot of organizations is saying is that's going to have a 40% impact on my marketing qualified leads. And think about that for a second. Trade shows are great as a marketing resource because you are in a room of thousands of qualified buyers who are there for one sole purpose, to evaluate vendors and to find solutions to their problems, right? Whatever that may be, whatever kind of trade show it may be. On to the next one, Sahar. Collateral right now, a lot of marketing collateral is tied up in campaigns that the market is not receptive to or we can't fulfill. Again, there's a lot of supply side pressure right now regarding this. We may have products or service that we may have offered before that suddenly, because we can't have person-to-person interaction anymore, we can't fulfill. So how do we get around that? Number 3, content team is uncertain about what content will be receptive for our target personas. Again, how do you communicate during this time? And number 4, in a complete freeze, how do you allocate your advertising budget over the next few months? This one's critical. It's probably the biggest one we've been hearing so far.
So those are mainly challenges that we're hearing from marketing leaders right now for a lot of B2B and B2C organizations. And this is not just US. This is US, Canada. This is globally. We understand it's a global challenge. Just please, guys, monitor the questions to make sure we're capturing everything we can.
Yep.
So John, I heard from Max some of the marketing challenge that we're facing right now. And I think the big thing I'm hearing here is, how can I allocate budget? And by the way, my traditional channels are completely frozen. So John, like, you're now wearing the hat of VP sales, if I may say.
Bears.
Or Bears, yeah. So what can be the challenges that a VP sales or a sales leader organization can be facing right now?
Absolutely. And this is not very surprising for us. Not just our clients, our partners, but we at Flawless Inbound also are facing this. And this is the trend we are seeing right across the market. The first thing is thought leaders are thinking about, okay, how can we secure current deals? Because net new names can be really difficult. Like it can be a bonus for you, but how can you secure current deals? That's the first challenge, right? Because many of them are in a cost-cutting mode, and they want to make sure that, trim off all the fat. So how would you show them enough value that, you will be retained without losing their business? The second thing is, now is the time when cheaper alternatives might be running in their mind. So, hey, if someone is, I'm paying 1,000 a year, I can get this done for say $600. How about I move towards the cheaper option now? How can you stop that from happening to your business? And internally also there are challenges. If you have a sales team, right, they're wondering about their variable income. Okay, these are factors not under our control. How is the management going to treat us? Okay, their job security and all that. That's the number one challenge. Second thing is uncertainty in the market, because even if you have good deals in your opportunities in your pipeline, they are slowing down because people don't want to make a decision now. They are paralyzed, right? It's paralysis by analysis. Everyone is looking at the market. Hey, we want to conserve cash. We don't want to be spending now. How do you overcome those challenges? And if your sales process is heavy in-person meetings, meeting people, meeting them through trade shows, and pushing them down the line, what are the next best alternatives for me to keep that momentum going? That's one challenge. The third one, as we show here, all physical events. This was supposed to be a physical event in Victoria and Vancouver for us. Everything has been canceled, right? Because that's the recommendation now, and we understand why that's the case. So when that's canceled, what's the next best thing for you? How can you still convey your value proposition, create enough value so that you can keep your prospects interested in your business, right? So you need to be very quickly think on your feet and find out alternatives where you can still continue your sales process or still continue presenting your solution and services to the market. And last but not the least is, a lot of people are now kind of facing a challenge of, okay, we budgeted for certain purposes at the beginning of the year. Now this pandemic challenge has turned that upside down now, and we don't know what would be the best channel in which we can take this funding and reallocate. At the same time, we start getting ROI for that, right? So many of them are in the process of evaluating what would be that effective channel into which they can reallocate their resources. So these are the four main challenges that we are seeing across sales departments in North America, at least.
Beautiful. So John and Max, so I'm hearing from you guys now. So Max, like you're kind of wearing the VP marketing hat, you're echoing your challenges. John, you're wearing the VP sales hat, you're echoing your challenges. Just again, a question to everybody attending today. Is there anything else you think right now you're hearing from your team, you're hearing from the organization, that maybe we might have missed from those challenges? And Max, I'll ask you just to monitor the Q&A, please, just to see if we missed anything from those challenges.
I'll watch it until I present again.
Beautiful.
Oh, which is right now. So John, you need to watch the Q&A.
Yeah.
So yeah, one thing we want to address before we get into some solutions here is that there are factors that remain the same during COVID-19, regardless of what we do. And some of them are even pre-existing, right? There are always new trends and statistics that we have to be mindful of. So the first one is 78% of internet users research products and services. That number probably went up recently for obvious reasons, right? It's where everyone seems to be turning for support right now, for information, etc., right? So again, something to be mindful of. Number two, buyers are 66 to 90% of the way through their buying journey before they reach out to a vendor. Just a reminder, the buyer's journey, really simplified. A buyer goes through 3 phases before purchasing a product or service: awareness, consideration, decision, right? This has probably been prolonged, particularly the consideration phase as of recent events. So again, in that in that short window that you may have where they actually reach out to a salesperson, what are you going to be doing, right? How are you going to position yourselves to potentially close the deal there? And as I said, the market was trending towards this pre-COVID-19, right? And now, as John was saying, buyers are even more apprehensive than they were before. So the only way that someone can make a purchasing decision right now is through their online research. There are more eyeballs fixated on digital content than there were ever before right now. Case in point, our outreach right now is this webinar. It's the only way that we can communicate right now to some of our existing customers, some net new people to us. So it's just a consideration I want you all to make. Number 3 here is there's 73 million, millennials in the North American workforce, and a lot of them now are involved as decision makers and influencers. We are 2 years away from millennials being the most represented generation in the workforce, right? They are far different purchasers than previous generations before them. So as a result, we have to adapt to this new generation that's going to be dominating the workforce soon. And lastly, the conclusion of this all then is, so the evaluation behavior, channels, and expectations are changing.
Beautiful. And I see that those numbers, I think, will go up more right now, Max, as you said, because literally 80% of the workforce are actually working from home. Some of them will be decision makers. And I think that applies regardless if it's a B2B channel or a B2C channel. So that's why I want to come now with kind of sharing a framework we have been building with our clients. And please feel free to borrow this framework and see what can be applicable for your organization during this time. This framework actually is divided into 2 phases. Phase 1 is absolutely revenue protection. That's very critical because you need to secure the livelihood of your organization. The organization takes care of your team. Your team will take care of their family. Organization take care of the community. So in this phase, as a business leader, one of the key things is understanding exactly as John said, what do we have? Where are we standing? Okay. So resetting the facts. Look at your pipeline, understand what can actually you can maintain and close right now, and forecast where the market is going, especially during this time. Of course, the forecast will not be the traditional quarterly forecast or annual forecast. I feel it will be more of a monthly, like month to month, to understand exactly what's going on. But what I want to focus on in this framework is actually number 2. Now more than ever, it doesn't matter how big or how small is your organization, you need to be upfront with your community. You need to communicate better. We all heard it. Empathy is the key to just making sure that you're always here, you're helping your clients, and you're advising. So for example, at Flawless and Bound, one of the key things we'll be doing is we're going to be having a LinkedIn page that has nothing to do with Flawless and Bound. It purely will be sales, marketing, and business leaders working together. And we know when there's peer-to-peer communication, magic happens. And we all can think outside the box on how to deal with this. The third thing is retention is really the new growth, if you think about it. So how can you prioritize the account or the relationship or the context that you need to go deeper into? And not only from a customer perspective, but also from a supply chain perspective. Who are the right vendor that you need to get more closer to and understand their business model? Then, as John said, John is managing a sales team right now. I think John will not be sleeping at night, because if his sales team are all used to outside sales and face-to-face meetings, or maybe attending trade shows where Max is helping him to build a trade show, I think there's a big disruption happening there. So do you have a simple playbook that can help your sales team sell through distance? And then when you just align that phase properly, which we call it revenue protection, then you step into revising revenue growth. So maybe your original plan was, hey, we want to grow 40% year over year, or 50%, or let's do the 2x or 3x in the next 18 to 24 months. We all know this plan is kind of almost out of the window right now. So how can we be more pragmatic during this phase, so that then when the market comes back, you actually come stronger? Like in a different way, how can you bend but not break? That's kind of the model, right? So I would expect if you're a VP of sales, you start building a deal disc triage, and you start working on existing deals in the pipeline, figure out how you close them and how you think outside the box. I would expect a marketing manager or marketing leader to go back and revisit the go-to marketing execution plan, which is step number 6 here, to see how can they adjust this better. Of course, I don't want to go through all the steps, but the key point is what kind of channel mix you guys would be thinking of. So again, you guys can borrow that. The beauty about this framework is that it's reversible. So as soon as the market get back to normal, which eventually it will, you can actually go back to your normal processes. Maybe not 100%, but at least that will help you do this. And of course, this is kind of a suggested time plan in weeks of actually how you can pivot to achieve this new market condition. But at the end of the day, you would see that the main thing, the main highlight is selling through social distance. This is so critical. You really need to figure this one out. Connecting with the community, it's very critical. And as soon as you do that, then go back to your marketing team and get the feedback from the sales team of what's really working and what's not working. Because maybe before the marketing team was planning on things that is not applicable anymore. With that in mind, I just want to say one thing. Maybe before, the effort was winning new business, net new logos, and then we just focus on retention. Now more than ever, it's more about go deeper in your relationship with your existing customer, because retention is very critical. That's the oxygen and the livelihood of the organization. And maybe adjust the focus of new logo in a different manner during those few months, 6 to 8 months. Then you can go back into more logos, less retention. So mapping, force, and friction. So going back to the flywheel. So when we do that, this is kind of more of an exercise to all of us today. Where can you apply force? Where can you hopefully remove friction? That's kind of one key thing about it. So, and John and Max, feel free to jump in if I miss anything here. Where's the next best alternative to a current process? So I know Max will be speaking about trade shows, and okay, trade shows are down, right? John will be speaking about networking events. How can I go around that? Okay. What can be automated? Actually, now more than ever, your sales team are disrupted. Let's all be honest, because they had a playbook or a framework that they have been working on for the last 5 years. So now you need to reallocate or reskill your sales team. How can you automate things to make them do more with less? And of course, how can you address this through KPIs, measured goals? Now more than ever, I know John and Max were kind of kidding in the beginning of the meeting, saying, hey, we need to be away from each other and all those kind of things. But really now more than ever, it's not just the sales and the marketing team working better together. It's the 3 big divisions in an organization that can take your company forward. They really need to orchestrate working together. Sales, marketing, but more importantly, the services team. Because the services team will help you more with retention as well. So again, this is kind of one of the key things that just focus on and work on from a very high level perspective of where should you apply force, where should you remove friction, and let's be honest, at some point in this journey, you might find that some of your team members now maybe have more time on their hands because they're not traveling a lot, they're not attending trade shows. So maybe reallocate this team to help you work on the business versus work in the business. So they actually can come with newer ideas that can help you reach out to more clients or add value to more clients in a most cost-efficient way. So how can you reorganize, and how can you allocate your human capital and your budget together to capture this new market that maybe you don't know exists, and now you're exposed to it? I know we always speak as leaders about on this disruption, digital transformation, all those kind of things. Unfortunately, disruption is here. So either we're ready for it or not. This is, I guess, the time that we have to really think outside the box and apply a model like this for the organization. So John and Max, I think now it's time for us to start sharing some newer playbooks that we have been creating and learning from our clients. So Max, can I start with you first? I mean, you start sharing some challenges, right? Around budget, trade show and stuff like that. Share with us how you're seeing our clients, doing things right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the first one, yes, is canceled trade shows. So regarding trade shows, I mean, I already mentioned why organizations like them so much. Again, a lot of qualified buyers in one room, right? But it's time to determine what was the critical, success factors, right? Concentration of target buyers, high impact product demos, faster sales cycles, right? They're there, they're likely in a buying situation, right? Moving on to the next one though, then now we suggest make a list, right? So if you're going to a trade show, I hope you were going as a vendor, I hope you're going there with a plan, right? There's probably key accounts, or if you're in B2C, key persons that you're hoping to target. Maybe, in B2B in particular, you can probably write out or type, sorry, what some of those key accounts were, who who the contacts were, and start segmenting that. And from there, we suggest, just go to the next one, Sahar, is to actually deliver a trade show like webinar. Now, here's the key distinction. The trade show was nice because the company putting on the trade show did a lot of the prospecting work for us, right? They are doing the advertising, they're throwing on the event, they're telling you where you get to put your booth, right? Maybe you're paying a bit more so that you get to put your booth in a high volume area, right? Now we're suggesting do some of the work that the trade show company was doing for you, right? And make it digital, because you can still do things like present to a concentration of your target buyers, give a demo, right? And again, I think in most businesses, a demo is a key part of the sales cycle, right? Once you got them in for the demo, suddenly they become a customer that you can close more easily. Moving on to the next one regarding updating your marketing collateral. So what we're suggesting there is to evaluate your website. And what we suggest is to create a knowledge base. Now, for those who don't know, a knowledge base is not a brochure of your products. A knowledge base is actually an AI tool, or it can be AI, usually is, that starts, it does actually a little bit of the work that a sales rep would do in terms of qualifications. So my best way to kind of tell you that is through an example, right? So I went all out today and I wore my running shoes, even for this webinar. On Running Shoes has a fantastic knowledge base on their website. So what they do is when someone like me, like a runner, goes on there and says, okay, On Shoes, I wanna buy some running shoes, it does things like it doesn't point me to products, it points me to questions. So it starts asking me, hey, what are you doing? Are you training? Are you racing? Are you doing trail running? Perfect. From there, then it goes, I answer one of those. Then it goes, okay, do you need extra compression, or do you need more stability? So on and so forth. What kind of distances are you going to be running? And it starts filtering their catalog behind the scenes to the point where it points me to 1, 2, or 3 shoes that say, hey, we think these are the ones that can do the trip for you. It's such a great prospecting tool, right? And a good way to take a marketing qualified lead and passing it on to a salesperson eventually. We also say regarding your marketing collateral to actually continue the status quo, because again, this event, COVID-19 is still very fresh and it's hard to tell what the market values at this time. So continue your same kind of content in your campaigns just to see if what you offered before, that maybe, again, there's supply side pressures or you can't have face-to-face interaction anymore. We recommend just finding out what the market values and using that data to maybe create a unique solution to how you can get around that and still develop business. A customer advocacy newsletter is also key. Again, key here though is this is to your existing base. What Sahar said about retention, right? Communicate to your existing book of business what you can and can't do during this period. Again, be creative with it though. We've all, I'm sure, have seen emails that say we are monitoring the situation closely. It's become verbatim at this point. So maybe, I've seen some great examples of this. A lot of the grocery food stores are getting their CEOs to talk. I've seen that with Save on Foods. I've seen that with Loblaws. Maybe do something like that. It is creative outreach. It really shows that you care. And again, video is one of the best forms of content you can use to engage your current customer base. LinkedIn groups, again, something Sahar already brought up, something that we're going to start doing soon. Invite leaders of your industry, whether that's manufacturing or something else, to share their best practice, because peer-to-peer communication is what's going to lead to the solutions to navigate and hopefully prosper during this crisis that we're facing.
Yeah, Max, could I quickly add a point here?
Yeah.
Now, as Max is going through the solutions, I want to take here thinking back to the flywheel again. What we are asking you or recommending you to do is, based on this new reality now, you are identifying areas where you could add force now so that you will get the ROI for it, right? So trade shows are canceled. So now you're looking at how can I add force, but adding more, pumping in more money or trying to do trade shows is definitely not going to work, right? Because there are no options, no avenues available. So what's the next best alternative, right? A virtual trade show, right? A virtual tour of a facility. What can you do? At the same time, the concept is not just about securing current deals, but you have to think about, say, 6 months down the line, right? How am I going to keep my pipeline healthy when all these people are online looking for solutions and trying to do their best evaluation with available online resources? How can I be present for them, be visible, be credible, and add value so that the conversations that I am managing to get for my business during this challenge will turn into signed deals for me, or at least, without being that optimistic, at least really strong, qualified opportunities for my sales team in the next 6 months.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes
Yeah,
sense.
go ahead, Max.
Awesome. Moving on to how to adjust your content strategy this time. First thing is don't capitalize on a crisis. If you have a product or solution that's receptive to the market right now, like toilet paper, for instance, I guess is something that's selling like crazy. Don't, make sure not to be arrogant or to be too pushy with the offers right now. Number two, I think this one's obvious, but I'm going to say it again. Empathy is the way to do business. In terms of your marketing, you have to be an informative consultant. Things like the quick offers, the exploding offers are not going to work as effectively when buyers are being apprehensive right now with their purchasing decision and are being more mindful of every dollar that they have. Shift your offers now to resonate with customer pain points. Again, this is key of a marketing department right now, is that maybe your target market can't do business with you right now, but you can set up for the future. So start using payment delays, discounts, free value adds, so that they again feel more inclined to do business with you right now, whatever is most appropriate for your business and your products and services. Now we're suggesting to make sure your blog and case study content is relevant and current in light of the situation that we're in right now. If you are actively communicating about COVID-19, it shows prospects and your existing book of business that you care and that you can help, and also that you haven't completely shut down. It's key as ever to be active digitally, just as a touch point. Even if they don't read that content, at least they'll see the headline or the graphic or whatever it may be.
And Max, just to add one more point, again, going back to sales, marketing, and services alignment in the flywheel model, as Max is talking about new blogs, case study, and content itself, right? This is the time when you interact with your sales team and with your services team, because the sales team is going to give you information from the market. What's resonating? What are people looking for now? It's change management, right? So you need to, as a marketing team, be involved, be aligned, and be able to pivot your content strategy based on what's required, right? So this is another instance where sales, marketing, and services alignment can work great. And the services team, the alignment, the information they get from your current clients can give you very fertile information for content, not just that, for your product team too, right? It can give you a direction. Okay, for the next 1 year or 12 months, I might have to add additional features or evolve my product in such a way that it becomes more appealing, not just to my current clients, right? But also it gives me a strong selling point when the market is evaluating my service or product.
So this can be an opportunity to to understand that there's new markets. And John, I'll get back to you because I'm expecting more ideas from you also on the sales side.
Sure.
So that's
Yeah.
that's a good idea. Max, I know there's a lot of questions coming in regarding budget. What should we do right now, right? So how can we answer that?
Yeah, so what we're saying is if you have an advertising budget right now, no doubt, I think the reality is organizations have no doubt seen a reduction in that. But what we're saying is what you have left, don't advertise at all with with traditional advertisement or with predominantly traditional advertising, because there's limited audience right now and limited visibility, so it's not going to work. Switch to digital is obviously the easy answer. I think if we're talking about the flywheel again, if a marketer right now or a marketing department is trying to do traditional advertising right now and they said, sales team, this is how we're going to bring in leads for you, they're going to really piss off the sales team. So we suggest not doing that, but instead divert what budget you have left from advertising into inbound marketing and lead gen, right? So create resources and content that line up with your unique buyer's journey for your target market, that brings them in. Again, as the flywheel said, attract and engage, right? This is what it's all about. So that's what you need to do in order to bring them in for a sales team. So again, inbound right now has an immunity to COVID-19. The visibility is the highest it's ever been. That's where everyone's going for their information right now. So again, leverage the few advantages that we have during this market. Again, take that advertising, increase it, put it into SEO, into more posts, more media advertising. More is better. Again, even if people aren't reading it, as long as they're seeing it, it's a touch point, right? Think about that for like large corporations, for instance, right? McDonald's VP of marketing once said he hopes that McDonald's makes 8 touch points a day for every person. Now that's probably changed as of recent events, but think about it though. If you saw someone drinking a McDonald's cup with the yellow, with the golden arches on it, right? That's a touch point, right? Now the touch points have to be exclusively digital. How do you do that? Increase in SEO, post more on social media, more media, social media advertising and search engine advertising. And then lastly, strengthen your brand through thought leadership. Make it seem like you are the leader in this market right now, and you're paving the way for for competition to follow, or for the market to purchase in.
Beautiful. Thanks, Max. And we're just still monitoring the questions to make sure that we're answering all the questions that have come through. John, so now we heard from the marketing leader how he's going to reallocate a little bit of his marketing budget just to kind of still maintain branding and maintain the touch points. Tell me more from a sales perspective, how would you deal with scenarios like this right now? John, I think you're on mute.
Oh, sorry about that.
There you go. No problem.
Yeah, the main thing we need to consider right now is how can you sustain your business? And you got to look at retaining current clients, right? And also, how can I give confidence to my internal team? Because now the situation has changed. And obviously, you have to rethink your targets, your quotas for your sales team, etc. So the first step that you have to take as a sales leader is, considering what's happening around you, you got to reevaluate your markets. What you started with at the beginning of your fiscal year, things would have changed. One of the questions we had in the Q&A panel, Q&A section is, now people are reevaluating based on what's happening with their prospects, right? So they feel that a particular market or a particular sector is not going to be very responsive to your product or your service. With that thought in mind, you need to go back and assess where would your service or your product or your unique niche would be a better fit during this time, right? So that's why prioritize your markets, reevaluate. And based on that knowledge, you discuss with your sales team, monitor your current pipeline, and you have to reevaluate the forecast or the quotas. And once you have that, the next step would be to as a sales leader, when you have a good handle over, okay, what markets we are going to target and what are we expecting from this targeting, you clearly communicate that with your internal team, because that's critical. You have spent a lot of sweat and blood in developing good talent pool for your company, right? How do you keep their confidence high? So there should be a go-to person. It could be the VP of sales or the sales leader, or you can have a task team that is going to communicate these decisions to the revenue departments internally. You could also, if you have the means, have some internal applications where this chatter can move along, right? Like Slack or Team Chat or whatever it is. And this is very critical now. We had a question right early in the webinar. Okay, how is the services team going to be part of this? How does that services team being part of the flywheel, how can it be an advantage for me? In a situation like this customer success team is more important than, say, your sales or marketing as far as securing your current deals are concerned. If you don't have a customer success team, now is the time for you to form a team, reallocate internal resources, or if you have a customer success team and if you have an inside sales rep, now is the time for you to spend more time of that inside sales rep with your customer success team. Why do you do this? This is when they need to be proactive, reaching out to your current clients, your long-standing clients, and give them details about the internal situation in your company, and also try to understand what's happening internally for them, right? So this way they have their fingers on their pulse, and once they realize that if there is a red flag, is that if there is a possibility that your service or product could become a casualty of the cost cutting measures, then you need to empower them with the ability to be flexible in pricing, as well as with the ability to restructure contracts. So this is a question of force, right? Where can I apply more force in my revenue department? Definitely the customer success team is a point where you need to apply more force. And of course, don't give them free reign, right? Like you as a sales leader, as a management should decide, okay, these are the criteria in which you can restructure contracts. And this is the framework within which cost-cutting measures have to be, right? So whatever it takes to retain your clients. And then the other thing that you need to look at is, now would be a good time for you to look at where are the bottlenecks or friction as far as delivering that support, or answering those tickets are, like in your company. Look at the response times. See how you can reduce those response times. Can you bring in an automation where you manage these tickets better, right? And if you're able to considerably shorten your response time and provide, let's say, premium support across the board for all your clients, irrespective of what license they are on, this can be very valuable for them. This will boost their confidence in your ability to deliver in spite of the challenge. And this can be a very strong selling point for you in this kind of market.
And John, I like what you're saying, because this means when the market comes back, clients will always remember your brand, will always remember that you were there during those dark days.
Bingo.
So when the market comes back, there's always there's a stronger trust channel between you and your clients. And also what I'm hearing from what you're saying is that this can be an opportunity for your sales team, that if you find somebody who's so good in technical selling, maybe he should lead the service and support team, so he helps in retention while the other sales rep can be doing something else.
Absolutely.
So
and
reducing friction there.
Absolutely, Seher. You hit the nail on the head. And one more thing, Max was giving you marketing solutions. We talked about content, blogs, and all that. You creating this new efficient way of addressing concerns for your client can give you a lot of material. You can interview someone who's really happy with the way you've been reaching out, create a case study or a testimonial that can be a solid content that you can leverage during this time with your marketing team, right?
So this is a closer alignment between sales and marketing for sure.
Absolutely. The second point we discussed was uncertainty in the market. The first thing that you have to do is, you cannot escape this. So you have to now, whatever your resources are there, instead of stretching thin, and it's like hitting a wall, right? If you don't quickly think on your feet and decide, okay, what are the priorities in my pipeline, you will be spending a lot of effort without seeing the benefits for it. And the best way to do that is have some kind of lead scoring in place, right? If you have an automation, that would be a great way to do this lead scoring to prioritize deals, right? So, or one of the simplest ways, if you don't have an automation to do it, is Go back to the deals where you were successful and compare it with the ones that where you were not successful, right? And see if there are common threads. Like, it could be a particular demographics, particular roles that you are speaking to, particular markets based on prioritizing your markets, right? It could be that you activated a demo for them, or a POC, or a particular feature that you activated that they could test out, right? So look for those common threads and talk to your sales team now, because now you have reassessed your market. Talk to your sales team and take all this knowledge and provide lead scoring. Is basically, for those you who doesn't know what lead scoring is, it's giving a numerical number value for each opportunity in your pipeline, or each lead in your pipeline, right? Now take this knowledge back into your opportunity pipeline, deal pipelines, and prioritize deals. And say here talked about creating a deal triage or a deal desk. And once you prioritize these opportunities, push them to the deal desk, right? So that they can deal with these right away. And you can think with your marketing team to decide what would be the best approach now to move them down in your pipeline. And the second thing is, go back to your database. I'm pretty sure you have lots of contacts. Look, according to the reassessment of your market, create COVID segmentations, right? Now you know, okay, I'm not going to go to market A, B, or C because they're struggling right now. Okay, I need to go to D and E, and I need to double down and focus on this. So create new segmentation buckets. And then once you have that, if you don't have a digital nurturing process in place, now is the time to bring in an automation. Remember, the amount you set aside for say trade shows or events or other business development activities right now are sitting without being utilized. How can you take a little bit of that pool of money? How can you create an automation so that even if you can't meet these contacts in person, how can you continue conversing with them and providing them with value through a digital customized automation process, right?
You know what, John, I like what you're saying, because what we're hearing from a lot of founders and CEOs right now is that they also feel that the new norm after COVID-19 might not be the norm that we left from. So
Absolutely.
maybe while you're now building everything you're advising, you will actually utilize that for a longer time, because it will not be as the traditional trade shows, will be other things as well.
Absolutely, Shekhar. That's a great point. You are creating new foundations. I'll give you an example. I know this is not a very good example to pull into the picture. 9/11 happened, and the way the world flew around, like, the way we fly
Changed
or what,
completely.
everything changed.
Yeah.
There were a lot of complaints. I remember, Max, you might be too young to remember that. Just kidding.
He's giving you a hard time, Max. Don't worry about it.
But I remember people were complaining, this is such a big bottleneck, we cannot. And now it's become the norm. Nobody complains.
Correct.
So businesses right here on this webinar who are thinking that nobody checks my business out online, or a manufacturing company, right, says, oh, we don't do our business online, guys. You would be surprised to see how many decision makers are online, because that's the only available channel for them.
Correct.
And guess what? They're being introduced to that. 6 months down the line, they're going to be comfortable doing this. And this will become a big part of how they evaluate businesses, right? So when you are laying this foundation, this is going to survive the test of time. And this is going to be the new norm for you when the markets bounce back, right?
And I can see, John, some of your points here is also because now we can see selling through distance, empathy,
Correct.
all those kind of things, right? So you're suggesting here that for the sales team, they will go in and kind of readjust the sales scripts and the sales playbook, if I may say, to do that. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And for people who are used to meeting people and face to face, taking them out for dinners, building the trust, the relationship. If your sales process is heavy in that, now is your time to, since that has been taken away from your team, look at what is the next best alternative. What is there in my sales process that I'll be able to simulate digitally, right? So as Max pointed out, this could be virtual
events,
video conferencing, right? There are different tools to do that. It could be on the phone. Phone is awesome, still works, right? Call people if they're from the baby boomer generation, talk to them on the phone. Or if you are in a manufacturing sector, if you're involved in bringing people in, prospects in, to meet your product engineers, to meet your the manufacturing line, or
Line of
give them a
production.
tour of your facility,
Yeah.
give them a virtual tour of your facility.
Nice.
A lot of people are doing that. So look for alternatives where you can still provide them with an effective and consistent experience in spite of these challenges. And last but not the least, pricing adjustments, right? So we have to kind of accept the reality right now and show them that they won't be taking a big risk by partnering with you now. And how can you make it easy for them, because everyone has cash flow issues. So what from your service, what can you bundle, how can you customize it in such a way that you can start with might be fewer features right now, and wait and partner with your prospect to ride this challenge out, and then you can go back to your original pricing. But
Current
one
model.
one point to note is that you got to be careful. Don't be trigger happy. Don't roll out the pricing discounts across the board, because once you do that, it becomes difficult for you to bounce back and recapture that value. So make sure that's somewhere between the lines, that's in your messaging, that we are doing this specifically for this time. Since you like us and we have had great conversations, let's get started here. Let's use this downtime to have things in order so that we can use that as a springboard when the market bounces back.
Beautiful.
And as far as prospecting, we all know trade shows are dead right now, not going to bounce back anytime soon. Cold calling, not very effective. Cold emailing, the same way. So now you need to be able to reskill your sales team, right? So instead of meeting people in trade shows, how can they use social media platforms, video emails, or how can they have effective mobile outreaches to be able to connect with the same prospects and keep the seat warm, right? Keep these leads warm. So that's what you need to think about, alternative channels. And your sales team now, of course, since they are not traveling, they'll have a lot more time at their hand. So consider, if you're considering social selling, then how do you utilize your team's experience and knowledge, and how can you package that into webinars, podcasts, blogs that can be a solid content strategy for your marketing team, for your sales team to be able to publish on social media. So again, this is where you can increase the force, and at the same time you're removing friction so that you are preparing the market and you are achieving thought leadership and positioning yourself as the go-to person, because now your prospects are not just looking for a solution, but they are looking for someone who can take their hand and guide them and lead them through this challenge, right? That's what you're investing in doing. And because now social selling, since we are recommending that, that could be a new territory for your sales team, right? So now you need to think about tools, because social selling is hard. We do that. Me, Max, Seher, we do that all the time. It can be very distractive also for your team. So now you need to understand, or you need to see, how can I empower my team by maximizing their selling time? Is there anything in their daily process that we could automate, right? For example, if you don't have a CRM, think of a CRM that can automatically create contacts, create accounts, give information about businesses, or allows them to track their email activity, their phone calls, and all that automatically for them. Empower them by enabling them to live in your CRM so that they don't have to worry about typing in those Excel sheets to report to a sales manager. How can you automate this report so that you are empowering your team by giving them more selling time so that they can be on social media and continue providing value to attract qualified prospects for you? Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense.
Right?
Absolutely.
Right. And the other thing is that social selling is a new reality for you. So now you have to tinker with your sales framework, because you don't want to just throw out your resources and apply it and then realize that nothing is working. You need to be able to track the data, right? So you need to make sure that your entire team is on the same framework. They can have their own style of selling, but the framework should be the same. This way, you can monitor the progress as well as reward your sales team according to the framework that you've adopted internally. So that's very critical. Don't allow them to freelance. Allow them to, every one of you, sales and marketing, should align on a framework and follow that with your team. Now, the other thing is that reallocating resources, obviously trade shows, events, and all that is canceled. How can you do that? One thing that you can do is, if you have internal sales representatives, right? You can use them to reskill your sales team. If your sales team account executives are used to going to trade shows and meeting people in person, it's a different selling skill from selling socially, right? You don't have much control when you are selling to someone socially. So use your inside sales representative to train them on how to get the commitment online, how to keep the deals from moving forward, give them new qualification questions, new qualification criteria, and new questions to assess someone's readiness to buy from you, right? So reskill your sales team, give them new tools. Me and Max, we've started using LinkedIn Sales Navigator, really effective to zoom in on the prospects where we need to be spending more time, right? So use them to teach Sales Navigator. Again, ask them to allocate more time now into social selling. And you can track this through the CRM as a sales leader. Another point is you got to reevaluate if you have inside sales rep, right? Based on, remember, you have to reassess your market. That was the first point that we said. Based on that, allocate the inside sales rep selling time to focus on those new markets now.
Yeah,
what
that's
you
critical.
feel will give you the best ROI.
Now,
And
John,
last
can I ask you
one-
something? I just
Sure.
want before you go to the last point. So I know you and Max are sharing a lot of practices right now. In my mind, I know we use HubSpot, and we're kind of we implement HubSpot for our clients. Like, just tell me if I'm naive or not, but we can almost enable almost 90% of what we're sharing right now with a single platform, which is HubSpot. Max and John, is that correct? Is that what we're doing? That's what you see with our clients right now?
Yes, yeah, there's been, in fact, HubSpot has seen some increased traffic and an amount of people downloading some of their free resources. So
Yeah.
it is a nice digital platform to utilize for sales,
Yeah.
marketing, and services.
And the reason why I'm asking, guys, because like I can see we're sharing a lot of great best practice, but if I'm a business leader right now, I'm listening to all of that, I'm saying, oh my God, that's too much. How can I enable all of that while I'm dealing with a pandemic? I need to keep the livelihood of my business, and I need to stay closer to my clients. And you guys are asking me to do all of that. So I just want to make sure we address that. This is not a lot of work, really. You can enable that quickly in a week or two to pivot as fast as you can. John, am I correct? Is that
Absolutely, Seher. And the other thing is you got to notice, you got to reduce the time you spend in different departments, right? And you should have a tool where you are able to monitor what's happening internally, like, on one single dashboard. And a HubSpot being able to empower and monitor sales, marketing, and services activity, a tool like HubSpot can be really powerful in this time. And as Seher said, you can set it up in a week's time. And then the intangible is that this becomes the foundation for you moving forward. And you don't have to be spending on multiple resources, multiple applications like an Unbounce, like an Hootsuite, like Salesforce.com, and you don't have to be selling. You consolidate all this effort on a single platform, and that makes it very efficient for you as a business leader when you have that quarterly business reviews, right? And
so reporting?
that's reporting. So that's precious time for you. You
Got
don't
it.
have to manage a lot of things within your business.
Got it.
And just getting back to this, reevaluate selling time. And the last point on this would be, Seher,
The CRM, I guess.
since you have a new sales framework, since you're doing social selling, you got to program your CRM to reflect the sales process. And you got to have this a new way of actually capturing the sales productivity too. And what the CRM does is you can also start rewarding your sales team based on different metrics now, not just based on closed deals. That's a possibility too, if you want to, like, address, if you want to use that technique within your sales team.
So John, can I ask you something? So
Sure.
we know this is a big thing that we're dealing with right now, and everybody speaks about innovation, how we can think outside the box, and all those kind of things. So I know this slide speaks about innovation. So share with us more, because let's say I'm a B2B organization. I have a strict business model. How can I think about innovation in this model?
Absolutely. Business model. Thanks for bringing that up, Seher. That's one thing that you can start looking into seriously, right? What can we do differently right now, which will allow us to not only help our prospects and our clients, but also position us better, right? So can you think of bundling your services together? Like, can you bring in a software as a service model? Like, it's called the utility models, right? So what this does is it kind of empowers the client in that there is better access to this, that there's cloud access to this, and also for your team, if you're in the software sector, what it does is it kind of standardizes your delivery process, right?
Got it.
So the onboarding becomes easier. And if you think about this, when you take this model to the current market, it's not only operationally efficient for you, but it also gives confidence to your prospect or to the new client that, yes, I can access this wherever I want to from whatever devices it is, because now you've standardized. And for them, they'll know that they can quickly get up and start running with this. HubSpot is an example of this, right, Seher?
Yeah.
Within a week to 2 weeks, you can set up the sales, marketing, and services hub, and you can start doing those things. And then you can always optimize on that later.
So John, can I ask you something? So we know that for software as a service, it's understood. But what you're telling me is, even if I'm selling hardware, or if I'm selling professional services, or if I'm selling maintenance, what you're saying is I can bundle right now, especially in this market, some services, and I can kind of start with it, and it will be a utility model because kind of it's a simpler model where I'm in front of the client all the time, and I'm kind of in there. Even though I'm not selling software, I'm not a SaaS, but you're saying I can borrow some of that model. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Like, try to bundle together what you can and make it more cost effective for your prospects, and gives you a stronger selling point, a stronger value proposition. Again, the customer service team, right? Ask them to run a net promoter score campaign to your current clients.
And guys, can I ask a question? With NPS, we can run NPS from HubSpot as well. Can we?
Absolutely.
Can we do that?
Yes.
So when I apply the HubSpot on the flywheel that you guys are announcing right now, marketing, sales, and services, I don't need 3 different softwares. I can do that with one single platform. Is that
correct? You're right, Seher. So run this code, try to understand what your customers need. If they have been asking for some kind of an integration, so might be now is the time to add that to your product or a new feature, and your customer service team can get the feedback to the marketing team as well as, but most importantly, the product management team, right? This way you position your product or a service better to face these challenges. And and what can monthly recurring revenue, MRR, is very important. And how can you make that predictable now? It's a challenge in itself, but all these steps that we are suggesting can help you go there to have like a predictive MRR model for your business. That being said, B2B e-commerce, a lot of businesses were warming up to it, right? And there are many advantages in doing this. If you are in the manufacturing sector, if you have a warehouse, right? This becomes a very advantageous model for you. And Max talked about millennials, a lot of millennials being in the decision-making process. These people are evaluating a business using online channels across multiple devices, being on e-commerce. If you could add, if not all your entire product line, at least few of those, keeping it on an e-commerce platform allows you to be available to different markets at the same time. Or you can just focus on a particular market, make it restricted so that your content and everything that the marketing team generates can be focused on a particular market.
Got it. And now one of the worries sometimes we hear from clients is, okay, I get it, you guys are positioning B2B commerce platforms, and just we don't want to put our platform on Shopify or Amazon and stuff like that. So are you suggesting in this model that they build their own B2B commerce platform in their own flywheel, and then kind of streamline some of the small products to go out the door with that model?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, you can do that, but I'm pretty sure like Shopify or BigCommerce and all that, we were talking about HubSpot, right?
Correct.
And these e-commerce platforms are also very very reliable, and they also have integration. Some of these platforms have native integrations too, right? So this can be an easy thing to adapt. One intangible of having an e-commerce model is that you can connect your e-commerce portal, if you have a warehouse, to your warehouse. This way you'll have complete transparency, right? And the clients will know as they order, when can they expect orders, a real-time inventory of your warehouse, and you'll be able to manage your suppliers, and everybody will be able to have the right information as far as your business, product, and service is concerned, right? Another cool thing is this is, again, the marketing team has to take the lead in this conversational marketing. Having an e-commerce platform means that there'll be a lot more eyeballs looking at your products, and when they are on your e-commerce.
Uh-oh.
I think we lost John, but I think he'll dial back. But Max, can I suggest one thing? So John was speaking about the conversational marketing, and my understanding is that it's kind of a chat bot in simple language. It's a chat bot that can be programmed. Can I have this chat bot on marketing programming in different stages or different segments on the website or the e-commerce?
Yeah, absolutely. Depending on how well optimized your website is and how, for instance, our website chatbot is run through HubSpot, right? So
sorry about that, guys.
No worries, we're here. We're continuing. Don't worry.
I have no idea. So yeah, conversational master. I'm back on. So thinking on your feet.
John, I was just asking Max about conversational marketing because you started it. I know it freeze, but I was asking Max about how is there a way that we can program the chatbot into different sections on the website, depending on the need and where we're looking, especially with e-commerce.
Yeah, Max, go ahead. You can explain that.
Yeah, so you can actually get your chatbot to be adaptable depending on where the website visitor is in the buyer's journey. So again, if they have already purchased from you, let's say, well, you're going to align what the chatbot is asking them by the cross-sell and upsell opportunities, for instance. So again, with the right kind of programming, the right kind of tools, you can actually start creating a profile on that person via HubSpot or whatever solution that you use to kind of determine, in their profile, where are they in the buyer's journey? Are they new to us? Should I be asking them qualification questions, or oh no, they've already purchased from us. I need to adapt it.
Got it. And guys, are you monitoring questions? Because I just want to make sure we're answering all the questions.
I have. We've gone over as is tradition here. So apologies and thank you all those who have stayed with us so far.
So we still have a couple of slides to go, I guess. So I'll go through them also with you guys quickly here. So one of the key things, just to summarize, right? We have been sharing a lot of things about staying more close to the client. Look at the long play, not just what you have right now. Listen to the clients and remove friction as much as you can and add force to add value. That's kind of the summary of the conversation and how you can reallocate some of the budget. So just kind of quickly, Max, you can do a quick introduction of who we are and what we do here.
Yeah, just going to read the points. So we've helped over 90 organizations with their marketing, sales, strategy, and execution. We're a HubSpot Platinum partner. Obviously, that's something that we've brought up a couple times, and we're actually one of 20 HubSpot partners of 2,500 on the globe on the HubSpot Partner Advisory Board. We've also, or I should say, Sahar has published a great book.
As a team, we wrote a team
called The Marketing Manager Journey to the Summit.
So if you guys are bored and you're sitting home, you don't know what to do, just kind of download the book. It's on Amazon and kind of just read some of the playbooks and best practice for sure.
Yeah. We're the only Canadian organization to hold the HubSpot Advanced Implementation Certification. It's one of 14 partners worldwide, again, amongst 2,500 HubSpot partners in the world. Moving on.
And this is the picture, I guess, of the team?
Yeah, there's the team.
There you go.
All of us in Edmonton, but one exception, and he's on this webinar right now.
Awesome.
Okay.
Sorry,
Sahar, up to you if you want to do this one or me.
I think the only thing is just we want to highlight that you guys have been attending with us some of the trade shows. We'll be doing more of the online webinars on a monthly basis, so that's kind of one thing. And as John said, and as Max said, I think we're coming out with light programs to help organizations right now. Max, from a high level, when are we launching this? Is it launched already or?
Already launched. Also, it's the whole purpose behind this is, and I encourage you to look at this. John and I have both said it. We have to adjust for the new reality, and you can compare this to our previous pricing before COVID-19. We're ready to brace the storm, and we want to help you keep the engine running during this difficult time. Offering 3 programs, they're right in front of you. You can find out more information on the Flawless Inbound website. But just to put it simply, one's to maintain your HubSpot dashboard, one's marketing enablement, and then the last one does both marketing and sales enablement for you.
Perfect. Okay, so final takeaway from me, guys, and for everybody on the call. First of all, I want to say thank you so much for giving us this time, especially during this very sensitive zone that we're in right now. Nobody is an expert. We're all learning together. Let's all be honest here, right? And as John and Max said, we're learning from our clients. We're improving our playbooks. My advice is bend, but don't break, because this is yes, we understand that the timing to get out of it is unknown, but eventually we'll get out of it. That's the first thing. The second thing, be ready for the new world order post COVID-19. John mentioned it multiple times that when we bounce back, maybe it will be a new reality. That's the right time to work on your business and adjust and optimize the skill set of your team, the foundation of your infrastructure when it comes to marketing, sales, and services. Marketing is now almost the only pipe to enable your sales team. So be very careful when you cut budgets. What percentage are you cutting? What I'm hearing from CEO groups right now, that they're saying, okay, we're going to cut budget and cut cost by 20 to 40%. But the key question to you guys here on the call today as marketing and sales leader, to everybody on the call, is which channels are you cutting? Be careful not to cut the channels that actually will be your only window to the prospect and to the lead and to the community when the market comes back. So be very careful with that. And the last thing is the 3C. Jean mentioned it, Max mentioned it, and I mentioned it one more time, is first of all, community. Be very vocal and active and connect and help your community. This community can be your team, your supply chain, your customers, of course. The second thing is consistency. Whatever you decide to do, stay consistent with and you will learn from. And the final thing is content. Content will be very critical to you. Now more than ever, it can be in the form of videos, blogs, virtual events, webinars, so on and so forth. So this is kind of quickly the summary of what we want to share today. I hope it was a good use of your time. I know the team have been monitoring a lot of questions, and Max and John, I think we almost answered all the questions.
Yeah, the ones that we didn't answer live, John and I have been busy in the chat
awesome.
replying to them. So if any of you want us to elaborate or answer questions, again, now's the time. I'm just reading through them again, and John answered the one very well about budgeting for leads with the flywheel process during COVID-19, right? Virtual meetings, we answered that at the very beginning. The one regarding, let me just go through here.
Sure.
How to apply the flywheel service model during this current situation. Again, John answered that. It's B2B e-commerce and software as a service models, adapting those to your industry. That's and to your organization. That's the best way right now.
And we know also that the service department, like there's in HubSpot, there's a dashboard called Services Hub that you can enable Services Hub to your service department right now. You can open tickets online, you can do a lot of things. So there's a lot of things that definitely.
Yeah, here's one, guys. I answered this in the chat, but I think you guys, if you can give, because it's a hard one to answer, if you can give your advice on it. So someone's asked, what advices will you give to new startups who have very few clients? I started 4 months ago in a service business of interior design, and COVID-19 ruined the market for restaurants and shops. I answered that by saying, with an example. So we have a home builder right now that is that we work with that is running their operations with skeleton crews right now, right, regarding show homes. So everything is done via private viewing. They're also using customer advocacy newsletters to let their existing book of business and their sales pipeline know how they can and can't do business right now.
That's a great idea.
I can open it up to you guys too if you want to take a stab at it.
I will start first, and John, feel free to add. I think one of the key things right now, if the founder is on the call, I think one of the key things is cash is king. Let's all be honest, right? So if you're in a startup mood right now, you're kind of 4 or 5 months in, one of the key things is that manage your cash flow critically right now. This is very important. because maybe you don't have deeper pockets and you don't know what's going on. What does that mean to you from a practicality perspective? Anything that can help you do more with less is critical. So one of the key things exactly that Max said is try to add some intelligence in your website and in your marketing, all those kind of things. HubSpot just announced that they have their free HubSpot tool, meaning you as a client, if you're challenged with cash, you can actually use some of those free tools to automate some of these functions using HubSpot. It will plug into your website. You can program a very basic chatbot to capture some of the leads there. Now, also that means that you can qualify leads online right now without driving into their location or having a face-to-face meeting, because you can't. So pick the tools that are very cost effective for you right now to be able to do that. The second thing I think John mentioned was this might be a way to reevaluate your go-to-market strategy. Who is truly your client? And who does have the budget to kind of invest in your services? And if this means that you need to realign and pivot, then that's actually the right time to do that as well. So that's kind of from my side. John, anything you think you want to add?
No, I think, yeah, you guys pretty much covered everything. Yeah.
Awesome.
And the only thing I would say is how you communicate with your internal team. And you should be transparent, and they are kind of expecting information. If you have a team, even though you're a startup, that kind of shows real culture to them, right? And this is a time when you need to double down and show them that you are here not just to run a business, but to run it the right way. And you will gain a lot of respect by doing that with your internal team. Whatever decisions is there, communicating, being upfront, and letting them understand your challenges so that they can digest all that and make that call to be to walk with you as a team, right? So that's, you can utilize this opportunity to lay that foundation for a great culture, and yeah, I mean, use this to your advantage.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think I just want to say thank you again, everybody, for joining today. John and Max, thank you guys for hosting this. And I think we're going to be doing this once a month moving forward. We're going to post a lot of that on our LinkedIn business page. So feel free to just kind of follow us on LinkedIn. We'll be adding hopefully more valuable content. And I hope you guys enjoyed the session today. Email me, Max or John, if you have any feedback on this session, or if you have more questions that we could answer. Max and John, thank you again.
Yes.
John,
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you again for your patience, and stay safe, all of you. See you soon.
See you. Bye for now.
Bye.